Hello, everyone, and welcome, church family. It's good to see you again. Haven't done a video in a few weeks, but today we're doing that, and I promise to introduce to you a very special guest, but not really a guest much longer. This is Kate Ketchum, who's with me today on our video. Kate will be starting next Monday in the position of church office administrative assistant. And we're looking forward to her coming on board, pending your blessing, of course. And I'll say more about that before we close off. But I wanted to take a moment to introduce Kate to you. You've heard me mention her name, and now, if the name sounded familiar to many of you, maybe the face kind of adds a little greater familiarity. You're thinking, where do I know her? I've had several of you mention that. And I said, well, she has actually been a very frequent worship guest in our midst over the last 4 or 5 years, filling in for Becky McCauley, when she had to be away. And matter of fact, when I was gone on my sabbatical, I think it was January, Kate, you said, hey, I was there helping Becky out a little bit. And so she's a familiar face to those of us in the worship planning and in the office, and a familiar face, maybe a familiar guest pianist to many of you. And when she submitted a response to our request and appeal for potential candidates to fill this position, really filling Laura's retirement position from a year plus ago, we were delighted. And I thought, wow, someone that we know and look forward to getting to know even better. And so one of the first things we saw was the resume. There was a little cover email that came with it. And there was a resume, very impressive resume. You've got that attached if you want to print that up and look at it digitally as you listen to it to put some of her credentials. We're not necessarily going to go through that. You can read that, where she went to school, the degrees she has, and her experience. Although one of the things that caught my eye is that her first job was at Hickam Air Base in Hawaii. And I thought, well, I never knew that Kate spent time in Hawaii, and she actually grew up there. And so without any further introduction, this is Kate Ketchum, a face and a voice that you'll be getting to know in the months and in the years ahead. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Kate. Start with the family. Yes, when people look on the resume and they think, wow, you went to school in Hawaii and you worked in Hawaii, that's not a very close state. So you've come from all the way across the continent, making your way to the greater DC. What brought you to this area? Tell us a little bit about that journey that brought you here, and then a little bit about the journey that brought you to inquire about this ministry position, really.
Sure. So thank you for that lovely introduction. Like I said, I like Pastor said, we grew up in Hawaii, moved there when I was quite young. I wasn't born there, but that's as much home to me as anything else. I went to college there, at least for my undergraduates, and met my husband there. And then we got married there, and that is home. So around about a year into, or a few months into our marriage, actually, I married an Army captain, and he got orders to Lawton, Oklahoma. So we left paradise for Lawton and got
Lawton,
to know,
Oklahoma. Anywhere Oklahoma is not Hawaii. Yeah, we get it. I've been
not so much, but no, it was. I always say I'm really grateful that we had a little bit of time in Lawton, because from there we came here to the East Coast, and that cultural difference between Hawaii and the East Coast is pretty remarkable. So having a little pit stop in the Midwest was really nice to just kind of reacclimate to mainland US. So our first child was born there. My son Blake is an Okie, and he just turned 11 a couple of weeks ago. He'll be starting 6th grade here in a couple of weeks, and he loves soccer and lacrosse, and so he keeps us on our toes. But he was a wonderful addition to our family there in Oklahoma, and then And then my husband got orders to the Pentagon after that. And so we have been, with the exception of 1 year where we popped down to North Carolina so that my husband Brett could get his master's, we have been in the area for 10 years now. My youngest son, Bradley, is 7 years old. I'm a boy mom and everything that comes with that. So
We get that at our house.
I am very, yes, you do. So I am very outnumbered, but I get called beautiful mommy all the time and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I love my sweet boys, 7 and 11. And but we were one of those families that got a puppy during the pandemic. So I also have a 13-week-old Dachshund Beagle named Charlotte, and I insisted that she be a girl so that I would at least have one other girl in the house. And so I'm a boy mom, a puppy mom, and so my husband's still at the Pentagon. He's an analyst there. I call him my very handsome Army math nerd because he does high level math and analysis and things I can't explain. So he's a wonderful husband and father, and I'm so grateful for him. We're about to next April we'll celebrate 14 years of marriage, and I just can't believe it. But I'm really grateful, and the Lord's really blessed us. During that time, I've worked a couple places here in the area. Currently I also work at the Children's Science Center and teach piano. So that was kind of where the connection came in. We had briefly attended church with Miss Becky before. And so that's where she and I met. And when she started playing here, she was so kind as to introduce me to this lovely congregation. And every time I've guest played, I felt such a warm welcome. And so even though I wasn't really looking for another job per se, I came across this the ad in the Burt Classifieds for an administrative position here, and so I just kind of saw it. I'm like, oh, I know those people. I was like, but I didn't really, submit a resume or anything right away, and but just kind of kept popping up, and I'm like, wow, I've never had an ad keep popping up like this before. And so I finally just kind of clicked on it, and I was like, well, that's probably something I could do. But I was like, wait a second. I was like, it's all good. So, but it really was, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pray about it and let it sit. And if it's still on my radar and keeps coming up on after the weekend, I was like, I'll submit a resume and just kind of see what happens. And so, that's what I did. I talked to my husband, and we just kind of prayed about it and left everything in the Lord's hands. And on Monday morning, it popped up again, and I'm like, well, there you go. So I submitted a resume last month, I think early last month, and
in May, I guess,
here we are today.
Yeah. And one of the things that jumped out at us, and the committee as well, because many of them, once they saw your name and face, began to put some things together, they said, yeah, we know her. But one of the things, particularly as a pastor, that impressed me about your response was the prayerful approach. And I'll invite our congregation to kind of look through your resume. It's got some varied experience other than the Hickam field, but pretty much air base. I'm dating myself there. But as you look at that, there's the nonprofits that have been a focus, including a congregation here in Northern Virginia. Your primary focus there was the financial administration, which is a big part of the component here. It's one that definitely we needed a person with the right skill set and abilities to work with our church treasurer, finance, and just the daily operation financially. So that caught our eye, but it was not just at such and such a place, but it was at a church. And you assured us that, hey, I left there because that grew into a full-time position, and you were really wanting to stay part-time with the kids, with with, of course, your piano, and then now still with the Science Center, and going to be doing some stuff still with them, reminding our congregation this is a part-time position. And so you are full of energy, as we have already noticed, and as our folks will learn. And so you've got those commitments in those other ways. And that caught our eye, that there was just this consistency with just even when it wasn't a congregation, that it was the nonprofit. We had a little technical glitch there, but I think it came back with no problem. And so that you have trained well, and the competencies and experience that you bring has made your orientation very easy, and we look forward to the days to come. That impressed me. And so to our church family, even though this is not a called ministry position as such, it is a part of our constitution and a church structure that even for administrative level, because it is a level of trust dealing with finances and so forth, that you be introduced to this individual and grant us your blessing with the personnel committee. We have looked just before COVID hit, and we really had to take the hiatus. We've explained that over the last year, but as we kind of got that search engine back going over the last few months, your resume came to the top. There were others, and there were other people that we have talked to over these months and over this past year. And I think the Lord just was kind of prepping us to let him prep you and to bring you to that point and to bring us together, because this really is an addition to our ministry team. I think David recognizes this. I think certainly Laura did after being here for 10 years, that yes, you're the person on the phone at that front desk. Yes, you deal with finances and administrative stuff. You're behind the scenes, and you're not a member of our church. You attend elsewhere, although we'd love to have you play the piano anytime. This is a part of your sense of calling and ministry, and that was important to us, and I appreciate that perspective. Anything else that you would like to share with us? And I'll call attention to the printed part of this. Of course, you've got the resume, you've got our new office hours, which will begin next week. Kate will be here beginning on Monday. David will be back out of town. He'll be coming back and continuing to do a little bit of orientation and be there for reference for her. Laura has also offered that and will continue to be in contact as she makes the transition. But anything else that you would want to add? Your husband's name, remind us what his name is. Oh, you're muted there. You're muted there. Oh.
We have all B's in our house. So my husband is Brett, my oldest is Blake, and my youngest is Bradley. So
okay. And don't forget little puppy Charlotte too. So
that's
but
right.
as far as the boys go. Well, thank you. As you can tell, she is here doing some things, and we've recorded this off her phone. She tapped into this on her phone, and she's in the church library. If you think, well, her living room looks a lot like our library, that's where she is. Doesn't always have the best connection, but thank you for bearing with us, church family, on the recording. Kate, we look forward to having you join our team. And again, church, we will give you that opportunity. I'll explain to you in the text version. I'll explain on Sunday morning to how you can reach out to Kate, how you connect with her through the church office, as well as how you voice, we trust, your amens to God bringing this journey and this search to a close. So Kate, we look forward to the months and the years to come. Thank you for taking some time out of your busy day already to be with us. So this concludes the video portion. There's a lot of information in the text part of the email that links you to this video. So thanks for letting us break into your routine midweek. We will see you Sunday live in person, 11 o'clock in the sanctuary. You know the drill. If you want to watch online, go to the website, click the the red watch now, or is it blue? I guess it is blue in the red field, watch now button. I never get a chance to do that. So you know the drill if you're at home, how to connect online, 11 o'clock. We'll see you in worship one way or another. Again, thank you for letting us take a few minutes of your time today. And thank you, Kate, for being with us. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.